Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today, we are diving into one single idea that, I'm not kidding, has the power to completely reshape your life. We're talking about personal boundaries, and we're going to be using the incredible workbook from Doctors Henry Cloud and John Townsend as our guide.
So let's just start right here with a question. Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe, let's be real, one of those years, where you just feel completely swamped? You're being pulled in a million different directions, and it feels like your life isn't even yours to control anymore?
You know that feeling? Well, it almost always points back to one single root cause, a lack of boundaries. So to really get this, let's take a look at what a life without them actually looks and feels like day in and day out. So the workbook introduces us to this person named Sherry, and honestly, her day is just a perfect storm of boundary problems. You know the drill. She says yes to her mom because she feels guilty. She ends up doing her husband's forgotten chores. She agrees to help out a friend that deep down she kind of resents. And of course, she stays late for her demanding boss. By the end of the day, she is just wiped out, feeling totally alone and completely out of control. Now, does any little piece of that sound familiar to you? And this right here, this just nails the core of the issue. The second you get confused between what is your responsibility and what is someone else's, you've got a boundary problem. See, Sherry isn't just helping people. She's accidentally taking ownership of their problems, their feelings, their tasks, and she's losing her own life in the process. Okay, so if that's the problem, what in the world is the solution? Let's get a really clear, really simple definition of what a personal boundary actually is. Oh, I just love this definition so much. Think about it. A property line for your soul. A boundary isn't some giant wall you build to keep people out. No, it's just a clear line in the sand that defines what is me and what is not me. It's where you end and the other person begins. And that simple, clear line, that's the real foundation for ownership and genuine freedom in your life. And this analogy here is just so powerful. Healthy boundaries, they aren't walls. They're more like fences with gates. Now, think about what a fence does. It does a really important job, right? It keeps the bad stuff out, disrespect, manipulation, burnout. But, and this is the key part, it has gates to let the good stuff in. Love, support, real connection. Walls, on the other hand, they just keep everybody out, and they end up trapping you inside all alone. All right, so where do we tend to fit into this picture? The book breaks it down into 4 really common patterns, and I'm gonna bet you'll probably see a little bit of yourself in at least one of these. I love this little grid because it can be a real aha moment for people. So, look at the bottom left. If you have a hard time saying no to bad things, like unreasonable requests or maybe even hurtful behavior, you might fall into what the book calls a compliant. You just kind of melt into other people's demands, usually out of fear. Now look at the top right. If you find yourself saying no to good things, like you can't ask for help or you won't let people get close, you might be an avoidant, always keeping people at arm's length. And for a lot of us, we're a little bit of both, depending on the situation. And then you've got the other side of the coin. Think about Shuri's boss, the one who just wouldn't take no for an answer. That's a controller. They see your limits as a challenge to be conquered. Or maybe you know people who are so wrapped up in their own world that they literally don't hear your needs. Those are the non-responsives. And recognizing these types is so important because these are the people who will push on your boundaries again and again. All right, that's enough of the diagnosis, right? How do we actually start to fix this? Well, it all begins with understanding 3 basic foundational laws that make healthy boundaries work. First up, we've got a principle that is as old as time itself, the law of sowing and reaping. It's really that simple. Your actions and everyone else's actions have consequences. Okay, but here's the part that changes everything. Boundaries force other people to face their own consequences. Remember Sherry picking up her husband's stuff? Well, when she does that, she's protecting him from the consequence of his own forgetfulness. She's basically reaping what he sowed. Now, setting a boundary there, saying, hey, I can't do that for you, it isn't about punishing him. Not at all. It's about letting reality be the teacher. You step back so that he can learn to manage his own stuff.
Okay, law number 2 is the law of responsibility. And man, this one is a total game changer. The book makes this brilliant distinction. We are responsible to other people, to love them, to be kind, to help them carry a boulder if it's truly too heavy for them to lift alone. But we are only responsible for ourselves. That's our own daily knapsack, our feelings, our attitudes, our choices. If you try to carry someone else's knapsack for them every day, you're not only going to break your own back, you're going to keep them from ever getting strong enough to carry it themselves.
And that brings us to the third law, which honestly might be the most freeing one of all, the law of power. This is so liberating when you really get it. We spend so much energy trying to change other people, right? Trying to get them to see things our way or act differently. But the hard truth is, you can't. The only person on this entire planet you have the power to change is you. Your reactions, your choices, your limits, and what you will and will not put up with. That is where your real power is. So with these 3 laws as our foundation, how do we actually start doing this? How do we begin the practical, boots-on-the-ground work of taking our lives back? Well, first things first, we have to tackle the biggest myth about boundaries head-on. This quote from the book just reframes everything perfectly. Setting a boundary is not selfish. It is good stewardship. It's about you responsibly managing the one life, the limited time, and the precious energy that you've been given. It's that simple. So, what are your first steps? Think of this as your personal takeaway guide. First, get it in your head, this is about stewardship, not selfishness. Second, understand that when you have a clear and healthy no, it makes your yes so much more powerful and meaningful. You don't have to change everything overnight, okay? Just start small. Practice with one little baby no in a relationship where you feel safe. Stop jumping in to rescue people from their own choices. And above all, remember, you are responsible for your life. It's yours to own. And so as we wrap up, I'm just going to leave you with this one final thought to really chew on. What is that one boundary, that one small fence, that one courageous no, that if you finally set it today, could start a chain reaction and change everything for you?